Chef, how are you
Sure,
doing,
thank
Chef?
you. I am
How's your
doing
thing?
very well. I am home logged, but
Mm.
I'm taking a lot of online sessions from here.
Okay. So
Yeah.
now, hope you are very much engaged in these lockdown days, right, Chef?
Well, I am. I've been,
We got held up with many webinars and taking care of your students and doing all these things, sir.
yeah, very good,
Chef,
very good.
apart from regular routine work, now how do you engage yourself, Chef? Other things,
So listen,
any other?
my classes are from 9 to 6 anyway, every day. Can you hear me,
Okay,
Raj?
Chef. Okay, fine.
So my
Yeah,
classes
I'm
are
hearing
every
you.
day
I'm hearing you, Chef.
from 9 to 6 every day. I have classes.
Okay,
But I
Chef.
think in between, I do make a point to, do help my wife with all the housework.
Okay,
So
okay.
whether it is getting up early morning and washing the clothes and in the washing machine and doing up the dishes before she gets up. I
Okay,
also
okay,
make
okay.
couple of dinners or breakfasts, etc. once in a while. Yes, so we do
Yes,
that as well.
great, sir, great.
And
Okay. No, chef. Chef. No, actually, I'm meeting the chef past 5 to 6 days. 6 days, different chefs
yeah,
I'm meeting. They are all telling
uh-huh.
that it is the time they got. No, usually they will be held up with the hotel activities and everything. They don't
Right.
spend much with the family. So now the
Yeah.
period they're spending mostly for their family and all the things. Even they are cooking their home in their home and
Yeah.
doing all the things, chef.
Mm.
So great to know you, chef. No, how your culinary journey starts, chef? How your culinary journey starts, and what is being the identity? No, you created the identity for you in the culinary education
Hmm.
in India.
Yeah.
Your books are used in many institutions as a reference book
Hmm.
and the test book for the students, sir. No,
Yes.
please let me know how your culinary journey starts and how you are being the identity for culinary education in India, chef. Please, chef.
So, I really had never thought that I will get into culinary education because
Okay,
after I graduated from Oberoi School, I think I joined pastry. So pastry was
super.
always very close to my heart. I was a pastry chef,
Okay.
at the Oberoi New Delhi, and then I got transferred to Calcutta. And I think
Super,
Calcutta
chef.
was a
Super.
real game changer thing that, I got an opportunity. Mr. Oberoi sent me abroad, to work with, we had a hotel in
Mm-hmm.
Australia. I went to Mandarin Oriental in Thailand. So I did a lot of foreign exposures then. And of course, when I was back, I got an opportunity to open up ITC Shonar Bangla, which was the upcoming ITC hotel in Calcutta.
In Kolkata.
So I was the opening executive chef for ITC Hotel. I worked very
Super,
closely
chef.
with Imtiaz Qureshi, Chef Gill, and all my mentors, and it strengthened my
Yes,
Indian
yes.
food particularly. So I think as a chef, it is very important that you don't restrict yourself. I know pastry is something that is very very skill oriented, and I really appreciate a lot of pastry chefs who have always been into pastry. I did pastry for 5-7 years of my life,
Right, chef.
but I
Right.
think then I thought to move ahead and do other things, and I wanted to explore the other cuisine. So I was always kept my options open. So Indian was
Super,
my
chef.
weak section, and I think I really learned a lot of Indian from ITC hotels. And
Okay, chef. Okay.
thereafter, then 2004 when I joined OCLD, I realized that it is so amazing because to take a 2-hour session, you yourself have to put in 4 hours of study and research.
Okay. Okay.
So I think those things really then started changing the way I started looking at culinary education, because I think it was more of a helping the juniors, because when I used to go for these Oberoi interviews and I would ask basic questions, I mean I really felt that the candidates struggled even to name 5 types of mushrooms, or 5 products you can make with choux pastry, and 5 products you can make with puff pastry, or give me names of 7 breakfast rolls. After croissants and Danish, maybe they half of them are confused.
Confused. Right.
So I think then it gave me a thing, because I always came from an operational background where I used to work 16 hours a day, sometimes no offs for three months. So
Right.
I've
Right.
seen the
Right.
lifestyle like that. But coming to Oberoi's, when I had a 5-day week and I have a Saturday, Sunday off, and I'm at home on almost all the holidays, so that really chef in me to say, my God, what I'm going to do with my life is the big question that was standing up in my eyes. And I think where I got an opportunity to write the first book, and I was really happy.
Yes,
because
yes.
whatever I had learned in last years as executive chef, and so I think I put down all my experiences down, considering what
Right.
students want to know, and that was my really first thing. I had never thought what money will I get from these books, or what other books will I write. But slowly I wrote one book, and then it was with Oxford University Press. It was a great company, and then they started. Oh, now we have to write for second years. We have to write for third years. So
Third
then
years.
everything, I think last 7-8 years, all I've been writing is books for Oxford University Press.
Right, right. So good to know about you. No, you told that you have started your career as from the hotel, and then you come to the academic side. No,
Right.
usually academics need more than this practical and the teaching. We need administration and management and classroom handling. Everything is needed.
Yes.
If it is in hotel, just we need of theoretical and some manager concept is no is enough. Now, how you adapt yourself in academics once you come out from this actual hotel operation, chef? You know, I know that most of the people who works in the hotel operations, they are not if they come in front of the public or before the students, they are not that much clarity to define the points and things. How you get cope up with that academic side after no.
There is somehow a strange feeling, I must say, and I think I can talk really very openly about this because I have been in that, and I'm now in this front, both the fronts together. So I think that the operational chefs who are the executive chefs, I will not say all, but I would say generally some of them. I wouldn't even say most of them, but I would say some of the executive chefs or some of the people even working in the hotels, they feel that
Okay.
teaching is something which is anybody can do. It is very easy. You
Yes,
just have
yes,
to
yes.
teach how many
Mm-hmm.
soups, etc. A kitchen mein aake kaam karo to pata chale, that kind of things.
Yes, yes.
And why I say, because I've handled banquet operations single-handedly for 800 people's party as well. So
Mm-hmm.
but I have a lot of respect for culinary educators, especially who are teaching in IHMs, etc. My heart goes out to them because it
Okay.
is really challenging. Okay, somebody who is in that shoes of a culinary educator will understand that you have a responsibility on your shoulders. You have the
Right, chef.
responsibility
Right.
to groom the young graduate who's coming in, who knows nothing, and tomorrow he's going to only practice and preach the values that you're going to instill him in today. So I
Right,
think it's
chef. Right.
important for us culinary educators to teach them the best practices, uh, to prepare the Arjuns of tomorrow. I tell everybody, we are
Right.
not
Right.
here to prepare. We are not here to prepare those uh, that Arjun's son. Sorry, I forget his
Arjun's.
name now. No, Arjun's
Uh,
son who went into the Chakravyuh, Abhimanyu.
Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu. Okay.
So we are not here to create the Abhimanyus, because Abhimanyu will know how to go inside the Chakravyuh, but he will not know how to come outside the Chakravyuh. So rather
Right.
than
Right.
creating an Abhimanyu, we have to create the Arjunas. So which means, in other words, if there are certain shortcuts in the industry that we call a jhatka, for example, I think we have to
Mm-hmm.
tell those to the students as well. And not tell the student that this is the way out, but yes, to tell them that sometimes you will be fixed in a situation where you will have no other option but to do this. Yes, it should not hamper the quality. It should not become the way of the life. But I think for a student to understand that if he's caught somewhere, with your experience, if you can tell him, show him the path
Mm-hmm.
of, where is the light coming from, and you can make him see the end of the tunnel and he find his
Right,
way.
chef.
I think that is the greatest thing of the culinary educators of today, that are mentoring the students, that are bringing them to the right path, that are allowing them to see their future and make decisions for themselves.
Okay. Chef, from your talk itself, I understand that teaching is imbibed with you. It needs more responsibility that the entire life of the students we are carrying in our shoulders, right, Chef? That's what
Absolutely.
you are mentioning that. Chef, no,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Chef, no, I am the faculty. That means I am the head of the department in the down south area. No,
Yeah.
even some students know OCLD, that Oberoi Center of
Yeah.
Learning and Development. That different
Yeah.
programs are. That students, no, many students
Sorry.
are wish to enter into that program.
Yes.
So through this video, no, you make it the point very clear that what is OCLD program, what's the selection process, no, what are the
Yeah.
things that students to create themselves to clear the interview. Can you give some description and a bit elaborate about these OCLT programs and various things? Sure. What are the
So,
programs we are available in the OCLT?
so currently at OCLD, we have 4 programs. We have the kitchen management training program called the KA program, Cooking management training program. We have a guest service management program, and we also have introduced a new program which is called a sales and marketing program.
Okay.
So for the kitchen management program,
Sales and
you have
marketing
to
program.
be a
Okay.
yeah. So for kitchen management, you have to be a 3-year hotel management diploma. But for all the rest
Okay,
of the
sure.
3 streams, you could either be a graduate or you could be a hotel management student. It doesn't matter. So
Okay.
you could be a
Okay.
graduate
Okay.
also.
Okay.
Now, see, the thing is that, a lot of people in the hotel management has made a kind of scare in their mind about OCLD and thinking that, oh, it is
Yes. Yes.
very difficult to get through. So I don't deny that, yes, we do pick up the best in the country, but how do you decide that you are not one of the best? So that is, I think, where the battle is lost when many of the, I think 30% of the students all across India don't even sit for the interviews, thinking that I will not clear, and if I don't clear, what kind of impression I'm going to
Oh.
have on my friends. So I think there is a lot of peer pressure that the students don't, appear for it. And I would like to tell all the students that please don't have that fear factor in your mind, because OCLD is only one way of being an executive with Oberoi Group. There are many other ways to become executives with Oberoi Group. So if you don't clear OCLD in the first chance, you can keep appearing for OCLD until you are 25 years of age. There are a lot of students
Until
I know
25.
who have
Okay.
made it into the second attempt or the third attempt or even the fourth attempt. And if
Right.
you
Right. Right. Right.
don't get into OCLD and if you get something called OSER, then you get selected
Oh, sir.
in our hotels and you join in as a food production assistant or a front office assistant. And September, October onwards, we again have a series of interview, and now you can appear in OCLD as an internal candidate from the hotel.
Okay.
Now, even if
Okay.
you don't get selected, then you still have a job, you're working for Oberoi Hotels, you know about the company work, and next year you're more confident and you start working towards it. Let's say for 25 years age, you did not make it into OCLD. What is the problem? There is no problem. In 5 years down the line, you doing good work, you anyway will be promoted to a manager. Even if you went through an
Right.
OCLD,
Right.
you'll become a manager, and you will also become manager through your experiences. So today, there are so many wonderful chefs all across India and the world, and I don't think all of them are from OCLD. So just if
Yes. Yes.
OCLD makes you a best chef or a best manager, I don't think an institution really. Yes, an institution will give you that platform, but eventually, I think it's your own credibility as well. That what are you doing to yourself that you are making yourself to the top.
Correct.
So my
Chef, no,
thing to
in
all
which
the students is don't get underconfident. Be confident and
right, right.
practice on the skills that are needed.
No, chef. In which month we start the selection, chef? The student has to come to the particular location, or the team of OCLD members are visiting to the campus.
In which mostly, people judge what's your confidence level like, how do you speak, what's your English communication skills,
Okay.
your
Okay.
personality, your confidence, all those things. The second round is with the general manager and head of department. So if you're joining kitchens, then it will be with the executive chef and the general manager. So that is going to be a lot of technical round. Understanding what's your technical know-how in the
Okay.
kitchen if you want to join, or in the front office, etc. The third round is with the semi-final round, which happens with the OCLD faculty. So there we travel to different locations like Bombay, Calcutta, Bangalore again, and there are also open access days happening in Delhi, for example. So a lot of people who have missed out coming there, there's also 1 or 2 days of open access where people come and meet us on the semi-finals. Post semi-finals, you then have the final interview, which happens with Mr. Oberoi himself. And
Oh, okay. Okay.
but
Okay. Okay.
but if you ask me, what do we really look at? There are certain attributes we look at the candidates. We do look at, so there is a lot of myths. People say, oh, I'm black. That's why I was not selected into Oberoi's. I would say completely no, that is not true. Some people say that we're only looking for fair people. We're only looking for North Indians. I would totally disagree. These are all the
Right.
comments I
Right.
don't
Right.
know where people have heard from, and I completely disagree with it. We've had all sorts of people, but the kind of people that we hire for OCLD definitely are the people who have certain attributes, and that attributes really are your good communication skills. When we say good
Right, chef.
communication
Right.
skills, it means good English without any accent. Is your hair cut short? Wearing a tie? So all that grooming, I think, again, is a very big part, because you are going to join a hospitality industry, and we in the hospitality professionals, that's the way of our life. We have to be well groomed all the time. We do look at your technical awareness, that how sound you are
Right.
technically. So these are, and general awareness. A lot of people think that, oh, I have to become a chef. Why do I need to learn general awareness? I think it is very important, because now the chefs are also going to the restaurant, meeting guests. You must be able to strike up an intelligent conversation with a guest, a meaningful conversation with a guest. So I think it's very important even for chefs nowadays to be completely well-rounded, because gone are the days when chefs were hiding the kitchen walls and they were never to be seen in the open spaces in front of the guests. But today I think chef plays a real important part in selling the restaurant. Yes, Rajmohan.
Chef, you hearing me, chef?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, chef. Chef, now there is one question. Total how, chef, there is one question for us. Total how
Yes.
many number of candidates are selected in each program? No, it is it is any
thing is-
standard number, or it will be fluctuate.
No, we don't have a number in mind. We don't recruit because we have to fill up seats. If we find 12 good, we'll run the program with 12 good. If we find 15, we will run the program with 15. So we don't have a number, but however, yes, our thing is do guided by how many hotels are we going to open up, and what is the intake that should be, but it's not fixed number. So like I said, that if they say a ballpark figure that chef take around 20 people, so it doesn't mean that I have to, if I find 25, I can also say, I really picked up 25 best. And the company is not going to say, no, but we will take only 20. So we will take in 25 if the 25s are good. But yes, on an average, if you ask me, then usually the trend has been kitchen management program is around 15 people. Sales and
15,
marketing another 15 people. Housekeepers again 12 to 15. And guest service management has been 25 on an average. So total OCLD batch strength of at least 65 to 70 people every year is what the intake really is.
Chef, there is one
Does that
question
answer?
for us.
Yes.
What is the current situation of recruitment? Chef, another one more question, chef. What is the current situation of recruitment? Will it be delayed because of the pandemic?
So we have already selected our OCLD batch last year. Can you hear me, or is it?
Oh.
Wait 1 minute. I will go inside.
Yes, I'm hearing
There's some disturbance. Yeah, so the OCLD students will join us for sure this year.
Super. Okay. So no, there would be any delay for this selection, chef, due to this pandemic.
Listen, we are facing this pandemic for first time in our lives. So Raj, if you ask me that question, I really don't have any answer to it. As of now, if you ask me, there has been no decision made that if we are going to stop our recruitment or not. We don't know. We don't know when the business will be back. We don't know when the guests will start coming in.
Yes.
So it is something that really we all are waiting for and living it each day.
Right. Sure. Now, why this Oberoi groups OCLD is best in the country, compared to other programs, and what are the best practices that you are following in the OCLD program?
So I would say that I thank people all across the world who have definitely have always thought and made us believe that yes, Oberoi's and OCLD is the best. Now for me, because I work with Oberoi's, I will not. It'll be very proudy of me to start saying that yes, we are the best. But I'm thankful. I feel humble that the people across the world do tell us that we are the best, and we thank each one of you. But I think it is only comes from the thing that all the people that work in the organization are attuned towards one goal, and that one goal is people development. And I think that is top driven. It comes from Mr. Oberoi himself. where he values the people more than anybody on this earth. And he feels that, his hotels could be made of gold walls, but I think it would be completely incomplete if you did not have great people. So I think people is something what Oberois have always believed in. We have always selected the right kind of people. We've always given the best of the training to the right kind of people. We've always looked at their development, and that is the reason also that we have some absolutely great people who are graduated from Oberoi Hotels all across the world, and today are handling some great positions in the world today. Many leading senior managers in Four Seasons and other hotels in Oberoi at one point in time or the other were associated with Oberoi Hotels or have graduated from OCLD. So if you ask me particularly, what do we do different? I think we just are always teach what is current practices. We teach what is current standards. We don't teach really. I think we inspire the students. We show them what is in store for them. We allow them to choose, and we guide them, we mentor them, and we kind of give them everything and anything possible, which is in our resource, to provide them the platform where they can learn and grow.
Chef, I told you in the beginning itself, you have written many books. That books are being the reference for the many culinary institutions here.
Yes.
No, writing book is not an easy job, Chef. No, we can do any hardcore role that you can go on here. But taking the pen and sitting and writing a content needs more patience, and it is totally different. How it is possible for you that you have started the career in the complete kitchen after you turn to the academic side? One thing, I have read your book also. I am also using your book as reference for my students and everything. Whenever I'm going through the book, it is very elaborate content, and I definitely know it needs some research or some elaborate study on the particular topic. Then only we can make it that kind of stuff. How you did it, Chef, in your busy schedule? How you did writing all these things and to make the elaborate content? Who are all supported for these creations and everything, Chef? And also, please give your advice. Chef, also please give your advice in case if I am writing or someone writing.
Yes.
What are the things they should? What are the agenda they should be kept in mind for writing the things?
Right. Okay. So I'm very blessed that I worked 13 years as the executive chef in various hotels of Oberoi Hotels, and also 2 years with ITC. And working day in, day out, not just from the office of your kitchen, but hands-on with the people, making so many dishes, making the a la carte dishes, making the banquet food. You're so much intrigued into the practical work that it becomes your way of the life. And of course, as chefs, you keep reading. You never say that I'm a chef now. I think I still read, I still research, I still study. So somewhere down the line, I think even through OCLD, when I graduated out as a gold medalist from OCLD, so I was always very good in academics. And good in academics because I had this thing about research and development. I just wanted to find out more. And in my time, there were no YouTube videos. There were only Larousse and big books. So I remember spending most of the time in libraries and, looking at asparagus, and never touched asparagus maybe for first few years in my life when I was reading about asparagus in Hotel Management Institute. But I think now the students have a great opportunity, to learn not only from the library, but they have social media, they can interact with the chefs. They have a platform so much, but what I think is lacking today with the youngsters is the discipline. Because let's say that, whenever I hear about people, I don't have time. Now, if I may ask many people that, you've had last 40 days or 50 days, you had time in your life, you all are at home. What difference are you making to your lives? Because if your life is still moving the way it used to move 40 days ago, then I don't think it's a lack of time. It's a lack of discipline in your life. So you need to find that discipline into your life. And I think that is the discipline required for writing books, because I never did anything on my company's time. But every Saturday, Sunday, for maybe 20 hours, I would write every day, on both the days, 10 hours every day. On my travels in the planes, I would write. So it did take me 18 months to complete my each book. But I think the first book was all what I've done as a chef. If I had to read about
Okay.
basics of the
Yes.
kitchen and the basic soups and the salads, and so I think all came from my own experiences. There are a
Experience.
lot of chef's tips in that book, which are there from my experience. That if an oil foil falls on the floor, what do you do? And I have grown up reading the imported books by foreign authors, and I always felt that what is it for Indian? So I had to then find out about the names of things in Hindi. So when it cuts of meat, I've given the Hindi cuts of meat, what is called, because at the end I don't want the student to know a British cut, an Australian cut, English cut, and get confused. I want them to know what is the meat and what kind of cut in India,
Uh-huh.
for example, you will use for this. I want to have a student to have a complete understanding of a thing. So that was the whole thing about writing the book. I totally wrote the book from the chef's perspective. I really thank the editors of Oxford Press who worked more than me of editing that books, because I would just write it like a chef,
Yes.
the
Yes.
free flowing of thoughts, and they were
Yes.
the ones who actually
Yes. Yes. Yes.
concise it together and say that
Made
can
all
we
the
frame it
yes.
like this, that, like that. So I think really everybody I think has helped me. I think Mr. Oberoi has helped me big time to allow me to, use my
Do
knowledge which
all.
I've acquired from Oberoi Hotels, which I'm totally
Uh,
indebted to, the Oberoi Hotels, to all my colleagues and chefs, who I've worked with, to all my commis and my kitchen stewards whom I have learned from. And I think that is the one of the beauty that the youngsters of today must, look at, that, learning never stops. You can learn from anybody. You can learn from that, utility worker in your kitchen. You only have to be absorbent. The more you absorb, okay.
mm-hmm.
I think if you have an attitude where you say I know it all, then I think even people don't come and teach you things. But if you show that
Right.
openness to say, "Yeah, listen, I want to learn this," then I think there are people who are serious to teach you. So I think just practice humility, because I've seen a lot of chefs, shouting, screaming, abusing in the kitchen.
Right.
I don't think that's a way of the life. I don't think an individual needs to be treated like that. A lot of people do like that, and I don't understand why. I would like all the chefs to be humble. I would like all the chefs to be patient. I would like all the chefs, yes, we've had our times. We've had our times when we were like that. But I
Right.
think as we grow old in our profession, we start looking at a bigger picture, and we say that we have a bigger responsibility on our shoulders, and the responsibility is to groom the youngsters of tomorrow who are going to become the next executive chefs. So I think we must not hide things now. We've done enough. Chefs have hidden recipes, processes. We've all learned by discovery learning. We have reinvented the wheel, wasted time. I don't think I want to be any one of those chefs where I want to hide anything. I want to teach,
Right. Right.
inspire students with my
Whatever we must.
learnings, I have learned with my own mistakes, or I made mistakes. I will tell them not to make mistakes. And I think
Right.
that's, if all of us start thinking like that, I think India is going to be such a better place, where we are going to put, I think, the best chefs in the country forward for the world.
Okay. Very great sharing, chef. Okay. Chef,
Yeah.
there is a question for us. There is a question from Joseph. He is telling, "Hi,
Yeah.
chef. How are you? What is the
I'm
right
good.
portion of food to be prepared during Indian chef? What is the right
Hmm.
portion of food to be prepared during Indian practical classes? What is the right portion of food to be prepared
Hmm.
during Indian practical classes, as well as a
Okay.
trainer? How much
Hmm.
quantity or portion should I cook for Indian cuisine practical classes with how many
Hmm.
candidates? With how many candidates?
See, ideally, I think in a hotel management institute, I feel that there's a challenge, because to give a good culinary education, I don't think you can have more than 12 to 15 people in a practical class, because if there are more, then it is very difficult to kind of get everybody's attention together. There's distraction, and cooking is like a meditation. You are into it, you're talking with the food, you're in with the heat, you're concentrating a lot on when to reduce the heat and when to cook it. If there are 30-35 people, then half of your time just goes in managing them, that, oh, why you're talking is not on the food. I think when there are 12 or 15 passionate people talking about the food, they are all talking the same language. They're in sync. It's like meditation. You're into the music as an orchestra, and it's such a beautiful feeling. So I think 12 to 15 people, I would feel that it's an ideal thing for a practical session. And yes, cooking of the meat really depends on the utensil you choose, But ideally, if you were to cook like 4 or 5 pieces of mutton, then you need to have a really small katori size equipment to cook it. But what do you want the student to learn? Dish in a professional manner or home cooking? So if it's home cooking, you cook smaller food. But if you have to teach like home, industrial cooking, then you at least cook at least a kilo, at least 1 kilo or 2 kilos of meat for one Indian, because the kind of utensils that we have in professional kitchens, like a lagan or something, they're big. Now in that big thing, you won't be able to cook like 4 or 5 pieces. So either you have a smaller utensils in which you cook a smaller portion, or you at least cook 1 kilo of meat. That is enough, because it's also, when you use 1 kilo of meat, in Indian we don't scale like French cooking, like 2 grams, 5 grams. We always have a handful of this and a spoonful of this, and it's more of andazas. And that andazas, you can really get it, in a little quantity cooking. But I'm again against wastage of food, so don't cook so much that things are wasted, but cook enough so that people can eat lunch out of it and it's not wasted.
Chef, now for writing the cookbooks, how many hours that you dedicate for a day, as well as you make any time frame to complete a particular book, Chef? Now, in case you're writing the bulk food production of the book, how long you spend for writing one particular book, Chef? How many months you take?
See,
how many hours that you spend a day?
I think on an average, if you spend 10 hours a day, you end up taking around 18 months to write first book, which is what I've done with all my books. And of course, sometimes, writing 10 hours, not all subjects are very interesting. Somewhere down the line, there are a lot of things that require too much of theoretically things to be explained. So, I, of course, when started writing, at times I would really get bored and I didn't want to write, but I had a pressure because I had to submit a lesson. So I would go and, distract myself. I would go and play a flute here, I would take up, something, I will start playing a game with something, So I would also need to refresh my mind and then come back again on writing that book with the fresh thoughts. And that's what, problem happens when you do that and you take a break of 2 hours. And when you revisit what you've done before, you think, oh no, I should have added this. Then actually you start reworking. So it does require a lot of flow, when you write. It's not possible that you'll only write for 1 hour and then you will do for another hour. So the thing is, I also realized, apart from writing books, that, I'm a person who cannot sit idle. I think that is my problem as a chef. Coming from being an executive chef, working so many hours, I think it's become a part of my life, where I think if I just have Saturday, Sunday, where I don't have to do anything, I don't know what I'll do. I think an empty mind is a devil's workshop, and it really is with me. I can really, associate with it. I can be very destructive if I have time at my hand and if I have nothing to do. So glad I was writing books. Every Saturday, Sunday, holidays, I was writing books. And then when books things happened, then again I had Saturday, Sunday where I had nothing to do. And I said, this is not happening. So I enrolled myself into a Spanish institute. I started learning Spanish. So for 3 years of my life, I learned Spanish. I can now speak Spanish very fluently. I've done literature in Spanish. So I used to go 6 hours on Saturday and 6 hours on Sunday to Embassy of Spain to learn Spanish. So I did that for 3 years. When that happened, in 2017, I finished my Spanish. And then again, things started staring at my face. I had nothing else to do. So that is where I picked up my love for cycling. So now every Saturday, Sunday, I'm off for 100 kilometers. I've done Delhi to Bombay in 5 days. I've traveled around 40,000 kilometers on cycle, in last 3 years. So now I think cycling is one of my loves, where Saturdays, nowadays I'm missing my cycling. I cannot get on a cycle. But if this was the ideal time, no pollution, but I would request everybody to stay home. But given a chance, I would have, cycled from Kashmir to Kanyakumari in these 30 days.
You'll do it. Okay.
Yeah, I want to do it after my retirement.
Chef, thank you. We really want to know quality. We really want to know the quality of practical session. Most of the Indian practicals happens in college with 50 students with one faculty. Now, how do you thinking on that thing, Chef? No, I think it's all depend upon the deliverance, how they are delivering to the number of students. Maybe he's mentioning that I also knowing that, chef, many colleges that are conducting the practical with 50 to 30 number of students. Is it
Yes.
manageable? Is all the things will be delivered to the students in the equal sharing, chef?
You know what? I think everything has a time, and what the corona has taught us, I think it is a great boon in disguise. I would tell everybody. I think we will change a lot of way that we do education in our country and the world. I think. Yes, I believe 50 people is too much. I think what we need to look at is a very practical session that everybody is not interested in kitchen. Out of that 50 people,
Right.
if you ask that, only probably 15 of them are hardcore, want to build their life as a chef. Rest 35 are very clear that, I hate kitchens, but I have to attend it because I have nothing else to do. So I think there should be an understanding where with the teachers and the students now on this form to say that, okay, 15 of you are interested hardcore in kitchen. You are the people who should be in front and doing it. Rest 35 of you, you have choice to go sit in the library or a classroom and watch this session over a Zoom. So you can have integration of cameras now, so they don't miss out on the cooking session, and you give them a handout related to that recipe process and tell them that, listen, go look, sit in the front of the camera, look what's happening, and then write your set of questions if you don't
Okay.
understand anything. And after the class, come to the chef and understand, and maybe come for the tasting of the dish so that you have seen practically and now you've tasted the dish also. So I think that way it will be a wonderful situation for everybody. They would have seen how the dish is made. Probably if they are on their phones and cameras and secluded, they will probably have a better attention than in the larger classroom of 50 where half of them will not be paying attention and causing distraction in the kitchen. So I think currently we just have to look at different creative ways on how we can do this better.
Right, right. Chef, no, usually no, you are taking the classes in front of the students in the classroom. No, now you are handling all the classes through virtual mode. How the
Yes.
response of the students and now how do you feel this new environment of teaching the students through virtual issue?
So I think we are glad that we also have a lot of videos that we can show. A lot of student research based thing where we give a topic to the student. Let's say I want to take a class on sushi. Now
Uh-huh.
I think the problem with us chefs, and I will tell you, and when I say us chefs, I include myself in that. That yes, we have traveled the world, we have seen things. So I would be very excited to take a 2-hour class on sushis and tell them what is a sushi, and I would tell them my experience. I've been to Nobu and I've eaten a sushi there. So I can go on because I feel very passionate about my kitchen, and I will talk about it. But I think somewhere down the line, what are we missing is that what is the learning objective? What do you want the student to take away? I think we don't look from that point of view. I think it's very important to know that what is the student wants to learn. So I think if in a student, if he just understands, what are types of sushi? What is a maki sushi? What is a nigiri sushi? What is a sashimi? Then I think what we need to do is rather than I keep talking about sushi, I give them key terms. I said nigiri, maki, kapamaki, futomaki, sashimi, 5 types of fish. And I say, students, go research, and tomorrow we will discuss what you've learned. And at random, you'll pick up a student and say, can you explain a nigiri sushi? So the student is researched, and then you can add your things into it. Then if you have photographs in your database, then you show that picture and say, this is how we do. So there is a participation from the student. There's a research from the student. Super. They have seen on the YouTube and done it. So I think there are a lot of ways that we need to look at our education system.
So now that you are telling that virtual teaching needs more participation from the student side. Students has to involve themselves in the learning, right, chef? Rather than the face-to-face.
Yeah, because I think if you are talking here, then I don't know. Right now, for example, me and you are talking on the platform. I can't see anybody else. So I don't know if somebody is sleeping, lying on the sofa, listening to half of the things. I don't know. And that is what happens in the virtual classes. So if you're taking online classes, you don't know unless you ask everybody to put your camera on. So you're doing micromanaging. So now either you're concentrating on teaching or you're concentrating on what other student is doing. So I think the online is more about research based, where the student participates, which keeps them active and alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chef, how the educators can engage themselves in R&D, chef. No, under your under you, you have revived many forgotten and lost recipes that you have trialed in your kitchen. That
Yeah.
also did some. You did few food promotions in the reputed Oberoi
Yes.
Hotels also in some locations. No,
Correct.
how do you feel
Correct.
as a academic? No, as a academician, you have entered into the hotel
Yes.
in promoting the thing. In my perception, the academician have lot of time in R&D also. The hotels
Yeah.
also give the opportunity to the right academicians to
Yeah.
promote, to establish their ideas and research in the hospitality arena. Please let me know, Chef, something about.
I feel there's a lot of gap between the industry and the academia, and
Right,
I
Chef.
think I think we as chefs can really bridge that gap. Most of the hotels are looking for doing food promotions in their hotels, and I don't know what is the harm if somebody, let's say you are from south, and you are from a village, and you have a village cuisine,
Yes.
for example. Just an example, you have a village cuisine, and you know that your traditional equipments like that clay pots and everything, and you, along with your two students, send this message to the hotels that we are free for 2 weeks from this time to this time, and this is our menu. We would like to do a grandmother's cooking, promotion in your hotel. I I don't think the hotels will say no to it. They'll be really excited because one, there is no money exchange, and it's a great learning opportunity for your students, for you to come. So I think somewhere down the line, we need to build up a database of skilled chefs, academicians in our country, and the chefs across the hotels, Taj, ITC. They should know that okay, these are the chefs. Maybe he's a chef trainer here at IHM Chennai, for example.
Right.
Sorry, I mean I don't mean IHM Chennai right now. I'm just that word came to my mind. So there's an instructor at IHM Chennai or IHM Shimla, wherever, and this guy is great in Himachali food. This guy is great in Bengali, and can we get them to do a Bengali food promotion in my hotel or a Himachali food promotion in a hotel? And that is the thing, that what will happen is that the instructors will get to travel to the hotels. The hotels will have a pool of 100 people across where they can plan their food promotions. The people, when they go, so why did I start going and doing food promotions? Because if I am only restricted to teaching training at OCLD, then I think I'm losing my hands-on skill as a chef, where I want to
Right,
see
Chef.
that busy operation. I want to see my restaurant full. I want to see my quotes hanging. So I do cook 5 days a week in my OCLD. I think I'm one of the senior chefs who cooks 5 days a week, 9 to 5. I don't think any other executive chef cooks that much, because you don't have time. Executive chefs don't have time to cook on the
Don't have time.
range. Very few. The moment you hold a pan, somebody will come, that guest wants to meet you, there's a meeting here, okay? So it's not that they don't want to cook, but they get less and less time to spend on the range. So I'm very blessed that being at OCLD, I'm always on the range. But then I want to feel that, that pressure. I want to feel that there's order pending. I want to feel that, heat in the moment. I want to feel as a part of the team, that is the adrenaline rush that I felt as an executive chef when I was working. And for this reason, I at least do 2 to 3 food promotions where I go alone and with the support of my staff there in the hotel.
Students.
I run a successful food promotion, not students, the hotel staff there, because they really
Okay.
feel
Okay.
motivated to work with me. So there are commies who have been reading my books, or people. And then when I go and work with them, then it really changes their mindset, because in their mind they must also be thinking कि अरे chef तो वहाँ पढ़ाते हैं, ये इतने आदमी का खाना बना पाएंगे कि नहीं, But when you start putting the big handis on the ranges, when you start cooking 20 dishes, with 10 kilos mutton, and they see the energy in the kitchen. Some of them have actually said that we get very scared when Chef Bali is there in the kitchen and he starts cooking. I don't know, but I'm not scary.
Okay.
I don't shout at them, but it's just the feeling that I really enjoy it. And that's the reason I go do food promotions. With these food promotions, I make a lot of money for my hotels, which I'm very happy for, because, extra covers come in. So it helps everybody. I get a connect with my staff. I get to see what's happening in the hotel, because when I'm doing food promotion, I'm also seeing what's happening in their menus. So I'm learning myself. So I think it's all about, doing something and learning at the same time. And I think we should all form a pool of things. Right now, there are a lot of online things happening. Now, if I look at it that, I want a South Indian session for my students. Now, I don't think of anybody because I don't know a pool of people who exist who I can call to say, chef, can you do a little demo for me for my students on how to do basic, South Indian dishes, for example. So, I mean, we should be more open. We should have that database where we help each other in this time at least, that we can, help the students.
So, through talk, I can understand that you want to keep yourself active and engage with the before the range.
Yeah.
Other than this teaching, that
Yes.
gives us continuous learning experience, as well as we can also refresh through the heat of range. Okay, thank you, Chef.
Yeah.
Chef, in your perception, Muruk Makanwala is wherever we go, this Muruk Makanwala is being the identity of Indian cuisine. What is your opinion and perception about this Muruk Makanwala? Even I heard that in some restaurants in London is serving that makhani gravy as dessert also. I heard so. What is your opinion on this Muruk Makanwala? It is originally it's a Punjabi dish, or what? Or it is a fusion or something, chef?
Whenever we talk about Indian food, okay, so I think it's important for us to dig deeper into the history. So whenever people will say, is this authentic? I don't think anything is authentic in this entire world, because authentic means Lord Jesus has come and stamped it and said, this is authentic. So no food is authentic. But yes, there is a word called traditional. Is this food traditional or not traditional? That is, I think, important. So authentic should not be the word that people should use. People should use the word traditional. And I think a lot of traditions, lot of traditions are based on our upbringing. Lot of traditions are based on our social economic structure. Lot of traditions are based on the kind of ingredients and the equipments that we had to cook during that time. Lot of traditions are based on where we were. Were we cooking for the kings? Were we cooking for the masses? Were we cooking in the temples? Or were we cooking at homes? So I think every cuisine in India is different. Every cuisine in India has been influenced by different people. So Mughals have come in and given a different influence. The Chettiars traveling to Burma have got a different influence. When you read about the history, you see about the Mughal emperors. The Aurangzeb did not cross down the Deccan Plateau because he was defeated by the Marathas. So the Marathas did not allow the Mughals to touch the down south. So if you look at food of Kerala, Cochin, Andhra, all that food is still very Ayurvedic, very traditional, not botched up, not fusion of the Mughlai food, etc. But yes, there are a lot of influences which happened on our country because we were ruled by many people. We were ruled by dynasties. All those dynasties, they gave in their own herbs, their own spices, own flavors. So whenever you read about a cuisine, I think we should read about the tradition. Our cooks were not educated, so nobody have a written text. So we don't know how a recipe is made. We don't know the authentic traditional recipe of a kheer. We don't know the traditional recipe. We don't know how it came about. We don't know. But today we can make different types of kheer, okay? Or for that matter, different kinds of biryani. Now, Murg Makhani is again something which is not very old. It probably started in 1950s after the partition. Now, Moti Mahal started it, of course. That so I had a chance to speak to the owner. God bless him. Now he's no more.
Okay.
But coming from when the partition happened, now people were struggling in our country, India and Pakistan, when they separated. There was a lot of turmoil happening in 1947, 1950. So if I had to make money and if I made a restaurant, now if I gave you tinda masala, gobi burji, and simple dishes like that, bhindi masala, why would you come and dine at my restaurant? Because you'll say my mother makes it better at home or my grandmother makes it better at home. So there was a whole thing about a Punjabi restaurant cuisine that came about. So trust me, a chicken makhanwala is not a Punjabi dish. A dal makhani is not a Punjabi dish. And why I say that, because if you go to an 85-year-old grandmother today in Punjab and ask her the recipe of chicken butter masala, she will look dazed into your face as if, what have you spoken about? So, of course, these recipes, and if the grandmoms don't know about the dishes, then they don't belong there for sure. Okay. So that means that, you know, in 1950s onward, there's something started coming to as restaurant Punjabi food. The restaurant Punjabi food enticed people and eat and dine there and feel good, because those were food which were made little complicated by cream, nut paste, made to
Yes.
look like rich. A food that you cannot make at your home on a daily basis. So that you felt that,
Yes, right.
wow, I'm going and exploring something because
Mm-hmm.
I can't get that at home. If you got the
Right,
same
chef.
thing at home, you would never venture out, you know, to eat. For example, if your mother makes the best, softest idli, I don't think you will ever go and crave in a hotel to go and have a idli. You'll say, listen, I will not try idli, but I'll have that because that's what somebody doesn't know how to make it at my home. So I think food is all about being comfortable with what you like to eat, because there are very few people who really explore and, you know, food and try new things. A lot of
Right, chef.
people
Right.
want to go to their comfort food, lot to taste. So I think chicken tikka masala, murg makhni, all this is a Punjabi restaurant food. It has evolved over the time. It isn't the same today what was made by Mr. Jaggi, you know, 40 years ago when he started his
Mm-hmm.
restaurant. In what conditions was it made? What way was it? You know, there are different stories, and I don't know which one is correct. But I think every food is about refinement. And today, if people are creating that makhni sauce to make a dessert, or a freezing to make a gelato, or
Yes, yes.
dehydrating to make powders to give a topping on, you know, pizza makhni, you know, who can stop?
Right.
Because, you know, there's no stopping, because food, it's all about the cars. You know,
Okay.
how the car was made ambassador and what you have a Rolls Royce today. The
Yes, right.
designs become different, they change.
Okay. Chef, no, how this North Indian food having the standardization and pattern? No, if you see the South India, no, the chicken chukka, if you prepare, that will be differ from hotel to hotel, places to places. If you take
Yeah,
chicken chettinad, the same is happening. Curry is
yeah,
also changing. There is no
correct.
standard pattern there. But in North
Yeah,
Indian food, that especially the gravy, if you take, it will be no taste
yes,
may be differ, and now 10% the
yeah,
taste may be differ from place to place. But the
yeah,
standardization and pattern is there. How it
yeah.
happens? How this no pattern has happened? Why this the difference between the South Indian food and North Indian food in the recipe pattern and standardization? Maybe no people are, when I'm speaking with the people, they are telling why the pattern is not same in the South Indian food means it is called as kai pakwam, that you know the techniques kai pakwam, you know, chef, the thing everything they are using by the hand, everything they are using by the hand. So the amount of they are using the masalas and everything will be differ from person to person. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I understood your question, and I
Chef,
think the
chef,
only thing is, I think,
chef, chef, you hearing me,
yeah,
chef? I think now our video will cut now, chef. Actually, 1 minute left.
acha,
Shall I
okay,
shall I end it, and shall I end the video
yeah,
and cut we join again, chef?
acha, okay, okay, all right.